Monique, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule today to talk about a new film coming out on digital August 25th. I just watched it last night. I can't drop my review yet. It's called That's a Wrap. And I tell you, I had fun with this movie. I really did.
A fun movie.
It is.
You're laughing as much as you're screaming.
Yeah, you are, because there are some wonderful, terrifying moments, and then there's just some wonderfully laughing, moments as well. And your character Lily that you get to play, if you wouldn't mind telling my listeners a little bit about who Lily is in That's a Wrap.
Lily is the wife of the director, Mason Maestro. And they've been married for many years, as she is an actress for many years. Their marriage is not as good as one might wish. So the long-suffering wife,
Yes,
of the very famous auteur director in his own mind.
in his own mind. Yes,
Yes.
played by Robert Donovan, who I loved your scenes together. Had you worked with Robert before? You two just seemed to really hit it
I
off.
did. I worked with Robert Donovan many, many years ago on
Mhm.
something, probably 20, 25 years ago. So it was a
Oh,
long
sure.
time. And I'm rather insulted that he didn't really remember it. I remembered. It was apparently very memorable for me, but not for him. But I loved working with him. He was
Sure.
great. Our scenes just flowed.
Mm.
They were just so easy.
Yeah, I just love the dynamic between you two, and the looks that some of the looks that you got to give him too were just
Yes.
were you just felt it. It was just great. And I loved how you two played off each other very well. But I like I enjoyed the Lily character altogether. This movie is very meta. I saw the director, Marcel Walls. They mentioned it as being kind of influenced by Scream, and I felt like that. And your character, there's a lot of dialogue in here. I mean, what was it that drew you to Lily? Was it the fact that you're making some statements in here that felt kind of
Yes.
cathartic?
That's very much what attracted me to Lily.
Mhm.
Um, I got to the third act and I was like, yeah, this is yummy. This is delicious. This is hard,
Yeah.
which is also yummy and delicious in its own way because we're
Sure.
weird. But yeah, it was everything that Lily talks about
Mhm.
very much resonated with me.
Yeah, it seemed to you seem to really get into the role. I know it just in general, it's just like I could tell. I was like, yeah, she's having fun with Lily quite a bit.
Yeah, yeah. Lily was very fun for me.
Mhm.
Really fun.
And you mentioned kind of a challenge. What was the challenging part for playing Lily? What would you say?
Well, a lot of Lily's experiences
Mhm.
mirror my own
Mhm.
experiences. And Lily is a little bit more worn down by it than
Sure.
I am.
Mhm.
So I might cry about it. Lily's not crying about it.
Yeah.
So I had to allow all the emotion,
Mhm.
but also keep it very contained. So that was interesting because as an actor, usually when you bring up all the emotion, it's like, great, we're going to take the emotion and we are off and running, rather than bringing it all up and then, no, we're just going to hold it here,
Mhm.
let it out in little bits.
In little bits, which you do definitely throughout the film, and especially not giving away the ending, but let's just say that uh, you do a wonderful thing at the very end of the film that I was hoping you would do with your character. The look in the mirror was wonderful because I'm watching this going, "Oh, is she going to? Is she going to?" And you give that look, and I'm like, got a little chill with the look.
Yay. I know everybody who was at the screening told me it's like right in that last moment, I just had a shiver run down my spine. It's like, yes.
So, how do you prepare for a role like Lily? I know you mentioned that you felt a lot of common elements with her, but still, how do you prepare for a role like that?
it's the same thing you prepare for any role. You
Mhm.
know, you break down the script and you develop your backstory for the character,
Sure.
and everything that you speak about as the character, you
Mhm.
put a real life personal situation
Sure.
in that. So when you are speaking about something, it may not be identical, but you
Mhm.
get that same sort of, so you've got your own life overlapping with your character's thing, and that makes it easy to remember, easier to act, easier to like get in touch with all of those emotions. But it's also not always the easiest to do, because sometimes you're
Sure.
looking at things that you don't really want to look at, or remembering things that you don't really want to remember.
You're acting out, and all of a sudden you remember something that you maybe forgot, and suddenly you're like,
Yeah.
"Oh, there's a
And
reason I forgot that."
it's a lot of sitting there. I mean, my boyfriend, he's like, he's never been with an actor before. So
Mm,
he's like,
mhm,
"What are you doing right now?" "I'm working." "It looks like you're just sitting there." "Yes, I'm working." Like, so a lot of times my work just involves this.
mhm.
Hmm, hmm. I just sit and think. I was like,
Sure.
"Oh yeah, make a little note, sit and think, make a little note," and just come up with all of those beats.
Because you've gotta internalize and all of that before you can express it, right? Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
And express it you do. You get some wonderful little jabs in, especially on Donna.
Joe Netter wrote me a fun script. I shouldn't say he wrote it for me. He didn't write it
Yeah.
for me. He wrote
Mhm.
a script and I got to
Sure.
play with it.
Now, did you audition for the part, or did they approach you about it first,
They
or how did
approached me
they
about it.
did?
Yeah.
Oh, well, it definitely was fitting, and this you have this, a lot of, folks that are familiar in the indie scene in this film as well, Sarah French and that, and how was it working with, some of the other folks? The
Oh,
you know
it was a fun group of people to work
yeah.
with. I loved my scenes with Sarah.
Mhm.
I really felt like, you know, Sarah is me many, many years ago,
Sure.
decades ago.
Uh-huh.
So it's sort of like, that's how when I'm talking to Sarah, everything I talked about Sarah, it's like she's exactly where I was at one point. And she has been through so many things. And it's like,
Mhm.
it's when we get together and we do scenes together, it's like, oh, let's play, cue this up. What else can we add to it? How can we tweak it? What little things can we put in there?
Yeah, it was very natural, your scenes with Sarah, you 2 felt like, you were just talking you'd talk have this conversation even if the camera wasn't
Yeah,
there.
yeah. And we did. We would sit or we'd be litting around talking and we'd go into a conversation and it would sound like it was right in the script, except we used names.
Unless you you used names there, you were able
Yes.
to sh
In private conversation, we may use names. So and so, but we'll never say that out loud.
No, no, not on record anyway. Because that's the business you're in, and it can
Right.
be I'm sure there's other things that are said behind closed doors by other folks as well. So,
Yes.
but it's just like any job, though. I mean, people, I think, give acting like a bad rep, going, "Oh, they all talk about behind their backs or whatnot." But I'm like, have you been in an office? I'm
Yeah.
like,
Have you been in any office anywhere? It's just like high school.
it is. Thank you.
Yeah.
I've always thought that. I'm like, you say something wrong, and all of a sudden it comes back to you, and someone's upset. You're like, I'm not in high school anymore. We're like in an office setting. And why are you?
We're grown-ups,
Yeah.
right?
So I imagine with actors and acting that there's a lot of variety of emotions that everybody is always bringing to the table, or with your characters as well. I mean, is it tough sometimes to when you're done with that character, kind of separating that?
Oh
And
yeah.
yeah.
It takes a few days. It
Mhm.
always there's I slip into a bit of each character when I'm doing the production,
Sure.
before, during, and then it takes a little bit after.
Mhm.
And I am when I wrap a film, I am down for the count for like
Mm.
3 days.
Sure.
I'm done. Just don't even I don't schedule anything. I'm like,
Sure.
I'll talk to you in 3 days, mom. I'm not like I can't do it. I just like everything has been wrung out of me,
Mm.
which is a great feeling.
Well, yeah, I imagine it's great because you feel like then you left everything on the table with your
Yeah,
character,
yeah.
right?
It's like I got it all out. I put
Mhm.
it all out there.
So with your character and with Lily and Joe wrote this part and it really seemed you really seemed to click with it. How much did they give you to play with this character as far as say dialogue in that? Did you hold to the script or did they
I
let
held
you?
to the script. I
Mhm,
held to the script. I made a few changes here and there,
mhm,
which I always talk to the writer if it's
sure.
possible first to and I said to Joe like some of these words, if you do mind if I adjust them a little bit, and he's like, no. If I do have a problem, I'll say something, but for the
Sure.
most part,
Stick to the script.
sometimes sometimes I just like I'll take this word and put it here and this one
Sure,
here, and you
sure,
know,
sure. But it
the
yeah,
gist out.
because I've heard some stories of some directors are like, you got that word wrong. We're doing this again.
Yes. And when I'm doing a television audition
Mhm,
or a commercial audition, it's about being word perfect.
mhm, mhm.
It's different, especially an indie film.
Sure,
He's
sure.
like, as long as you're getting the idea across and everyone knows what's going on. I hate it
Sure.
when actors change up words too much and
Oh,
you're like,
mhm.
is that my cue? Am I supposed to talk now? Because oh, okay. I wasn't sure.
It reminds me a little bit of that scene from Ed Wood when Ed got Bella a commercial and the guy went improv and he didn't know the cues because the guy was so off script
Yeah.
that
Yeah.
and I've seen that too where some people play too loose with the script and you're watching it as a viewer going, I'm not exactly following what's going on anymore.
Yeah, if I'm listening to another actor and I've got to respond to something they say and they throw in a different word instead of what was supposed to be used and I'm supposed to echo that word, I will echo the word that they said
Sure.
and try to change it and bring it around. But sometimes it's like I was what point were you trying to make? Because I'm not sure it's ready for me to make my point.
Sure. Now, you've done a wide variety of films. In fact, I saw a film of yours a while back, Axeman 2 Overkill. You were in that, and I enjoyed you quite a bit in that role as well. That was a fun movie,
That's a fun movie.
too. So, do you have a particular genre that you lean towards, or are you always looking for something different?
I lean more towards comedy.
Mm,
Comedy is
mhm,
always my favorite, and I
sure.
try to bring a comedic element to most things
Mhm,
that I do if possible. In horror, that's not always possible.
sure.
Sometimes if it's a horror comedy, yes. If
Mhm,
it's and I tend to look like somebody who plays the straight man a lot, so I do play that. But I do love doing comedy a lot. I have a great couple of series that I have working with Brandon Rogers on YouTube,
mm,
and these
cool.
crazy,
Sure.
wild, hilarious things. And that's a treat.
Mhm.
I find that I like doing whatever it is I haven't been doing.
Ah,
So if I've
okay.
done horror, I
Mhm,
want comedy. If
sure.
I've been doing a bunch of comedy, I want a drama. If
Mhm,
I've been doing a drama, I want some, it's I like doing all the ones. I always default back to horror
mhm.
because with horror, you get the big emotions. It's it's not about little sometimes it's about
Mhm.
little subtleties, but it's like you're doing big stuff. You're screaming, you're being killed. Monsters are chasing you.
Mhm. Or
It's
or
it's
or you're doing the killing, one of the 2, right?
so it's very fun to be able to act like that.
Mm,
You get more opportunities in independent film
mhm,
and especially in horror, independent horror. You get a lot of opportunities that you don't get in the mainstream world if
mm,
you are
mhm.
an older actor
Sure,
or
sure.
somebody who might not fit within certain parameters
Mhm.
that the studio system likes.
Yes, the studio system who's a bit in trouble right now.
Trouble.
Yeah.
Yeah. But hopefully this means we're going to be seeing a giant resurgence of, you know, films being made by people who give a shit.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm with you on that. Actually, we saw a little resurgence of that during COVID.
Yeah.
The studio suddenly put the brakes on all these production stuff, and people are like, "Well, I'm sitting at home. I need to watch something," and suddenly people who they're discovering indie films that I saw years ago because I've been watching indie films for a long time, and all of a sudden they're
Right.
like, "This is a great film," and I'm like, "Yeah, that's what I've been saying."
Told you.
So it's really great to see some of that indie come back, and yeah, I'm hoping more people turn toward indie. I think part of the reason is the budget aesthetic. Some people aren't used to that.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's a very different film when you're making something for $200,000 versus
Right.
$200 million.
Mhm.
You know, I think the budgets are out of control on a lot of these studio films, and they have to make so much money
Sure.
in order to earn that back. And they're not even good, most of them. Some
Well,
of them are, some of them are, but some of them are like, didn't I see the same movie, but people were in different costumes?
yeah. Yeah, I could see that. Well, also, I've had this discussion with some of my friends. It's the digital technology, I think, has kind of uh, uh, been actually more of a handicap at some point because now their studios are just cranking out films because they can put them out so quickly. Whereas before, you only had so much film, so you had to make sure you're doing things right.
That is absolutely true. I noticed a real difference in how filmmaking changed when even in independent film, we
Mhm.
went from film to digital. All
Sure.
of a sudden, it's like, well, we can make a movie in 3 days. Well, you can. Is that, is that best? Is that
Sure.
really serving the script? Are you making a good movie in 3 days?
What would you say your shortest shoot time was for a project for a
Well,
film?
3 days.
3 days.
3 days.
It was 3 days. Oh
Yeah, it
wow.
was 3 days. Yeah,
Wow.
Jim Wynorski.
I was wondering who he, he's a master of just
I love Jim.
run and gun shooting. He's
Yes, yes.
I've enjoyed his films for a number of years, and I think that's one of the things that some people, especially I hate to use the term, but mainstream audiences kind of miss is that 99% of the indie filmmakers and performers and that actors and that are aware of what you're making. You're not thinking I'm making Shakespeare.
Yeah. I'm I'm making it's like this is a cheesy horror film. I'm I love that. It's like it is what it is. We're not pretending that it's never gonna win an Oscar.
Well,
But
I've always said that there's films that are made, you can tell they're made, oh, we're gonna get awards and Oscars, but then there's just film is entertainment too.
yeah, just entertainment.
And I think that gets lost occasionally, especially with some folks, who they review across the board and they'll criticize, say, an indie film just like a big budget film. And I'm like, you can't quite do that
Yeah.
because the budget,
It's
you know.
yeah. And I try to explain to civilians, it
Sure.
really all comes down to budget. They're
Mhm.
like, well, what do you mean? It's like, well, if you're and I'll start breaking it down. It's like you've
Sure.
got this many people and they have to pay this amount of dollars and now it costs this much per day and now you're doing this many things and these costs and then the house costs and it just
Locations too. I mean, locations
okay,
and
you have to write a film for your locations. That's if
Mhm.
you want to write a movie and save money, you write a film for the locations that you have for free. Take all
what
of your free locations, you write a movie based on those.
cash in some favors too, maybe. So
Yep. Yep.
I was talking to a director the other day about his film End Times, and he was talking about how he managed to score because it was a post-apocalyptic movie, and he managed to run across a neighborhood that they were about to demolish, but he only had a certain amount of time, and so he got to shoot there, but they only had like 4 days before they totally leveled the place.
But that's great.
You
Yeah.
know, but you take it where you can, and that's the thing is I try to explain to people too. That's why I like to focus on performances, and that's why I love your performance and everybody involved because when you don't have a big budget, you need the performances there to help sell the film.
Yes.
And you definitely sell the film quite a bit. I love your
Everyone's
your
giving
dress.
100%.
And your dress, your wardrobe. Did you get a chance? Did you get to pick out that dress, or did they? Did he
No,
pick?
Marcel picked out the dress.
He
He did
did.
a great job, and then he kept it and didn't give it to me. I'd like to know what that's about. Like,
But
come on,
come on, that was a killer dress. I mean,
it's a killer dress.
it's a killer dress, and it worked really well for your character, the film, and everything.
It
I
was a great dress.
and I love the colors and everything involved in that. Does that get distracted, or does that help with the setting to get into the characters and such?
I don't know that it really helps getting into the characters so much. It's like because the lighting when you're doing like a Giallo
Yeah.
inspired thing, you've got a lot of green and pink, and they're just weird. It's like, okay,
Sure,
this is interesting.
sure,
This
sure,
doesn't. You're not. It's not like you walk onto set and you feel like you're like, oh, this looks like my living room.
sure.
It looks very different.
Hmm.
It's interesting because you never really know what it's going to look like until you see it,
Oh,
because
sure,
the
yeah.
colored gels, they do stuff with your makeup.
Oh, do they?
If
Yeah.
you've got a red gel and you're wearing red lipstick, that lipstick's gone.
Oh, yeah.
Cancels out the red. So certain things get canceled out and they get flatter and some
Hmm.
highlight. So those colors, beyond more than just giving colors, they really create a lot with the environment.
Yeah, because I always wondered if that was a bit distracting for an actor when you walk in on that. You're like, you got four different colors shining on you, and then you're trying to perform, and you're like,
You're like,
okay,
wait a minute, am I in the green or am I in the purple?
yeah.
And it's funny, when I had a certain monologue near the
Mhm.
end, I was hoping to have more space to really like utilize
Oh,
the
sure.
space,
Hmm.
but the dress was too long,
Oh,
and I was already wearing 6-inch heels, and I had to lift the skirt up in order to. So I was always carrying my skirt, and anytime
sure,
I'm moving, in order to not trip over it.
sure.
And it's like with everything going on, it's like, okay, I'm just going to stand here in the spotlight because I ain't going anywhere without tripping over something.
Well, you still sell it well, so
It works out.
it still worked out, and I think by having you in place, especially with that monologue, it made it even more chilling because you're just like standing there, and give a far gave it a little more stake to it because you're so calm in
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
while you're delivering that monologue, which was a wonderful monologue.
It, Joe wrote an amazing monologue.
And now you do it. You do acting, but you've also produced and you've directed some films.
Well,
You
mostly
look
I
at,
do YouTube videos.
or you just YouTube
Yeah.
videos. Okay, because I just noticed you did do directing. Do you like directing? Does it help being an actress and then directing, or?
Directing is a lot harder. I
Mhm.
don't foresee myself choosing a career as a director.
Mhm. Mhm.
I could see getting more into producing
Sure,
because I like creating and I like making stuff happen.
sure, sure.
Um, but I love acting.
Mhm.
It's interesting that a lot of actors say, but what I really want to do is direct. It's like, no,
Right.
what I really want to do is be other people.
Sure.
I wanted to be an actor ever since I was a little kid. I did my
Mhm.
first play at 9 years old,
Oh, wow.
and I always just loved being other people. Like, oh,
What would
now
you?
I want to be this person.
And it gives you a chance to explore probably areas of yourself you don't normally in common day. I mean, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sometimes you'll do a film where you've got to just sit and look. It's like, how could I ever allow myself to be this person?
Right.
And sort of, and then build that,
Mhm.
like, well, okay, if my life started here and I made this choice, and then I made this choice, and I made this choice, and this choice, and this choice, and this choice, I can see how I could have ended up like that person. And then you don't have a judgment on it because you can see how you'd end up following that path and end up there. And it's a little disturbing to
Sure.
start thinking, well, I guess I really could do that.
Is it get challenging occasionally if you get a role to not judge the person you're supposed to be
Yes,
playing?
yes, absolutely, absolutely. Um, it's there's certain people we all put judgments on,
Sure, sure,
you know. And I
sure.
recently did another film with Joe and
Mhm,
Sarah where I play a character that is somebody I would have put a judgment on, and I had to
mhm,
just take my brain and do a 360. It's like, okay,
sure.
I have to take all judgment away, and I have to make her 100% true believer, and she is an innocent. It's like, and that was the only way I could rationalize it.
Yeah, because am always fascinated by some of the roles some actors take, it how they could get into that role. You look at that going, "Wow, that's a really disturbing person."
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's one thing when you're playing a made up person,
Sure, sure.
but for somebody playing Jeffrey Dahmer, for
Right.
instance,
Mhm.
that's that's dark.
Yeah.
You got to really you take your brain to a dark
Mhm.
place and you live there for a while. And it's not always an easy place to get out of.
Yeah, you hear about that too, so how some actors kinda get lost in their parts for a while after, like you said, sometimes they need more than 3 days, sometimes it's months before they
Yeah.
can
Yeah. And some people
really
would certainly benefit from therapy.
Yeah, yeah,
Some
I
roles you get too deep and you go too far and you
sure.
start questioning your own morality and your
Mhm,
own, morals. And it's
mhm.
just it could be good in certain roles to talk to a real therapist and like make like snap out of it.
What would you say usually it's, what's your hardest role? What would you say was one of the easiest scenes for you that maybe you thought was gonna be a challenge, but then once you got in camera for, That's a Wrap, that you got down and just like, "Wow, this was just nailed it the first time."
Um, my monologue.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I we had told, whenever an actor sees a very long monologue, they get a little scared,
Sure.
and they said we're going to do it in pieces. We're going to do
Mhm.
it in sections. We're going to
Sure.
like shoot and then cut and shoot and then cut. Well, you know what we did?
Hmm.
We did not shoot until cut. We
Wow,
did the entire thing in one take.
nice.
And then we went back and did a couple more takes. But
Sure,
and it was wonderful for me. I'm
mhm,
so glad that they gave me that space to
sure.
just do.
Mhm,
And I just, did whatever I thought, and it all just came out of me. And then I was able to make adjustments in the
sure.
next two. We had two cameras going, and that really helped a lot.
Gotta get that coverage, right?
Yeah. And the coverage, it's, you know, the way Marcel shoots,
Mhm,
he goes for long takes and really allows you all the time you want
sure.
before he yells cut. He's like,
Mhm,
I can get rid of all the rest of that in post. Like,
mhm.
I'm giving you all the time you need. And it's just such a wonderful way to work.
Well, and that's trust too, right? Between
Yeah.
you and the director. He's putting trust in you that you could deliver it, and you're trusting that he's
Interesting.
not gonna say, "Cut, cut, cut. No, wait, no, no."
Could you do it? Could you do it? I don't know. Better.
You sound like you've run into that occasionally.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, that's not good direction. I don't know what to do with that. I thought it was better.
What do you mean that
Something a little
yeah.
more specific.
What would you say was what probably, outside of That's a Wrap, one of your more memorable or interesting roles that you took that you just had a lot of fun that sticks with you to this day?
Oh my gosh.
Do you have any?
I had a lot of fun making the movie Playtime.
Oh,
I had a
okay.
lot of
Mhm.
fun making Bloodthirsty. Um, I had, almost most films are fun.
Mhm.
Most every film is a fun, lovely experience.
Sure.
I am I have better experiences on films that are generally a little bit longer
Mhm.
shooting
Mhm.
time
Sure.
because you spend more time working with everyone and it
Right.
becomes more of a family environment. I always like a film that goes on location
Mm. Mhm.
because I find you bond with people in a different way then. Um, last time I went on location for a film, it was for a Lifetime movie that I did in Virginia
Mm.
called Revenge Best Served Chilled.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm familiar with the title. Yeah,
And it's so lovely when you are someplace other than home, because I don't know, it's like camping then. You bond with people and they become
sure.
family.
It gives you a little better chemistry, I imagine, as well when you're working together, especially if it's for an extended period of time.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
S-
Um, gosh, I can't most of my films have been fun.
Yeah,
There are a few that I would say, "Oh no, I burned that bridge and I burned it so hard, it's never going to be."
sure.
Yeah.
Well, you get that with almost any occupation, I think. So there's bridges that you end up burning, even if you didn't intend to.
Yes.
But
And in life.
so I guess what advice would you give to someone up and coming? Because we've got with indie, there's so much media to consume now.
There's so
There's
much.
so much
Um,
content to be made. There's a lot of more aspiring people out there. What kind of advice would you give them?
I would tell them, start, just
Mhm,
try. Just try. You don't have to have any credits
mhm,
to be an actor. You don't have to come to LA to be an actor. You can start with your community college. Now you've got credits.
mhm,
You can start doing small films with just a bunch of friends.
mhm.
You can make short little films for TikTok. You know, you can be just as creative on any of the social medias. You could make a series on YouTube and
Mhm.
do everything yourself. You don't have to come to LA. You don't have to go through all of that until you reach a certain point.
Sure.
One of the actors on Revenge Best Served Chilled, has done theater for years.
Mhm.
She lives in Kentucky, and that was her first film.
Oh, wow.
She
Yeah.
submitted for it because you
Mhm,
don't have to. You can submit. And
mhm,
now that we're doing so many castings
mhm.
virtually, it's it's just wonderful, because if you've got talent and you're interested, sign up for casting networks or Actors Access or Casting Frontier or Backstage West and start putting yourself out there. Get a friend to take a picture. Do it on a cell phone. Do it in the
Sure.
highest resolution you can. Put it up on the websites. They're all going to, each one's going to charge you some money. None of this is free, unfortunately.
Sure,
All of it's free.
sure.
Um, don't
Mhm.
pay for auditions, obviously, but you do have
Right.
to pay for the service where
Mm.
they provide you the kind of
Opportunity. Yeah.
connection. Um, but just do it.
Mhm,
There is no reason to wait.
mhm.
30 years ago, when I came to LA, you had to come to LA to be an actor or be in New
Right.
York. That
Mhm.
was really it. But now you can be in your hometown. You can live in your parents' house. You can have a stable job and live someplace where the houses are not $1 million for a shack.
Sure.
It's stay home. There are acting classes that you can
Mhm.
take virtually. Look for casting directors. Follow them on Instagram. Do what they give lots of good advice.
Sure.
I'm on Instagram. I follow so many casting directors, and most of them right now, with the strikes going on, are, happy to help actors.
Sure.
You're like, okay, we've got downtime. Here's my advice. Here's what you
Mhm.
should do. Here's how you should better yourself. Um, Also for actors, your tool is your body. Take care of it.
Mhm.
You are and whatever your size is,
Sure.
take care of it.
Mhm.
If you are a heavy set funny guy, make sure that you have good food going in your body and can have stamina. Exercise so that you have stamina for a to make it through a full 12-hour day. uh, keep your tools honed. Just as I'm a gardener, so
Sure.
just as we polish all the rust off of the pruners,
Sure.
you
Sure.
keep the tools sharp.
Mm.
You keep them in good condition so that they are ready when you need them. You don't sit down and eat bonbons on the couch, do nothing, and then it's
Sure.
like, great, my action movie's here. Let's go. Now I'm going to get in shape. No, you're not getting the audition for the action movie if you're not in shape to begin with.
Sure, sure.
So, and whatever that shape may be as healthy as you can be, because
Mhm.
it's a hard job. It's a
Yeah.
physically difficult job. Sometimes you're just standing for a
Mhm.
long time, or you're in some weird position for a long time, and it's like you're there, you're laying dead on the ground for a long time. Somebody's like, can you get up? Maybe.
You know what? Just leave me here till
You
tomorrow.
want to just do your own things. I'll work on it.
Yeah, I think people don't realize when they're watching the films, the behind the scenes, how long some of those scenes or whatnot take, or hours for just one
Yeah.
scene.
And the makeup, when you've got the prosthetics going on, you can be in makeup for 4 or 5 hours.
Mhm.
And then you go and you shoot your scene for 20 minutes, and then they spend another 2 hours taking the stuff off of you. Here's not a fun and glamorous day. Like, well, I've got my mouth stapled shut now, so
Mm.
I can't have lunch.
Yeah, I had the privilege of being on a movie set. I was a script supervisor for an indie film for my friend, and I enjoyed it. I loved it, but at the same time, it was a 14-hour day in a smelly barn. It was hot, and we spent like an hour trying to get the hit on a head with a hammer properly so the blood would.
Yeah, yeah. And the food is never really very good.
Sure,
On big budget movies, the
sure.
food is amazing.
Mhm.
On low budget indie films, we're usually picking it up from someplace.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
I can't eat dairy products.
Oh,
So
okay, sure.
when I say no cheese, it
Mhm.
gets messed up every single time.
Oh,
And I'm used to it
sure,
because,
sure. Uh, I see.
but it's just, there's only one bathroom on the premises and
Sure.
40 people are using it. And the lock never really locks. So you're never comfortable. You're like in the
You're
dark.
sitting with the hand up or the foot. Yeah.
There's usually a towel hanging in there that was not meant for your use. That's the homeowner's towel, but now everybody's used it. So it's sopping wet. We ran out of paper towels hours ago. The trash can is overflowing. It's just,
And
it's a long day.
and yet, and I think it's an attestament to your passion and love for acting, because you go through all that and yet you still want to do it.
And I still want to do it.
And you still want to do it. That's wonderful. And we benefit as viewers because we get characters like Lily. And I was very happy with this film. I figured it was good because I've seen Marcel's a few
Yeah.
of his other stuff. So I knew kind of what I was getting into, but I didn't expect quite as many meta references. And it seemed like everyone was having fun, and it seemed you had a blast as well. So
Yeah.
so what do you have coming up?
Coming
So
up, we are going to be having a premiere in London.
Oh, nice.
So we're going to be at Fright Fest
Sure.
for That's a Wrap. I also have another horror film
Hmm.
that's premiering the same day in London. So August 25 is going to be a heck of a day for me.
You're gonna be driving between two.
Well, and it's one of those, I've got a screening at 1:10 in the afternoon,
Sure.
and then one at 10:45 at night.
And you're from LA, so there's already that.
Yeah. So we're going a couple days early. I'm
Sure.
thinking gonna do the show Creeping Death at 1:10, and then go do some day drinking, and
Sure.
then have a nice disco nap, and then wake up and put myself back together and
At least you have a little space between them, so you're not
yeah,
rushing.
yeah.
Well, that's
So we're going to Europe, and thought we'd go to Scotland and to France as well, since
oh,
we're there.
nice,
You know,
nice. That should
nice
be a
little
good
European
time.
vacation.
Yeah.
There's a strike going on, so not much work wise.
Right, right. I imagine that even in the indie scenes and such, it's still been kind of tough for people because you have a mixture of union workers and non-union workers and
Right.
certain roles. So I think people don't get that perspective either with the impact. So you said you're on social media. Where can people follow your stuff?
You can find me on, I'm at Monique Parent, all one word.
Mhm.
Do I need to spell that?
No, I'll have it written down below and all
Thank
that.
you.
We'll be good. We'll be good.
I can't spell it. It's at Monique Parent on Twitter, now known as X, um, Facebook, Instagram. That's really it. YouTube, I'm Monique Parent YT.
Oh, okay. And I had to ask, you mentioned it. I've got to ask, what do you grow in your garden? Is it just flowers? Do you grow vegetables? Do you?
It's not a lot of vegetables. We've got some berries. We've got some raspberries and boysenberries. We've got a lot of herbs because my boyfriend is an amazing cook, and so we always have fresh herbs. We don't really have a good location for vegetables.
Oh, sure.
Because we live in the hills and the whole place is like that.
Sure, sure.
And I'm not a goat. So it's a lot of succulents and flowers.
Well, still, it makes for a very interesting garden. That's great. I'm from Wisconsin. I'm in the middle of Wisconsin here, so as far
Dad's
as
from Wisconsin,
really, really,
Manitowoc.
oh, Manitowoc. I know Manitowoc quite well. Yeah, been there a number of times there. Yeah, so
Another number of times there, yeah.
yeah, there.
I've only been there once.
Oh, okay.
I should also mention that one of the things that I have coming up in the near future is I just finished a film with Marcel and Sarah and Joe, Neon Noir, and it's called Garden of Eden.
Ooh,
And
interesting.
it is not a comedy.
Is it another horror or is it
It's
a
another
drama?
horror, and it's
Ooh.
a very, very different picture.
Not as much meta references going on, I imagine.
No,
No.
no.
Well, Monique, thank you very much. This has been a lot of fun.
Mark, it's been a joy. Thank you.
Appreciate this quite a bit. So check it out, folks. That's a wrap. It is coming to digital August 25th. It'll be on digital platforms. You're getting the premiere in London. You're getting to travel, and that's going to be great. And look forward to seeing more of your continued projects.
Thank you very much, Mark.